Trojan football off to Utah this week. We'll show you why the Utes bring a challenge.
And a special guest from the number 3 ranked USC men's water polo team will join us.
Sports Scene starts right now.
Welcome back to the luxurious Annenberg Media Center. I'm Julia Adams.
And I'm Aaron Glazer. USC is preparing for yet another Pac-12 South Division battle on the road this Saturday night against Utah.
The Trojans hold 11-5 record over the Utes, but have lost the past 2 games in Salt Lake City on last-second touchdown passes. And Utah is going to be loud. The Utes have sold out the past 54 of their home games, making it a tough place to play on the road. The winner of the game will take first place in the Pac-12 South, making this game essential for making it to the conference championship.
And it's no easy test. Utah scored 40 points in back-to-back games and is led by quarterback Tyler Huntley. He's thrown over 1,000 yards already this season and over 300 career completions in his time at Utah. The Trojans recognize this, of course, and quarterback JT Daniels this week acknowledged just how difficult those Utes can be.
You know, they got great players and a great scheme. I think their coach really trusts their players. You know, they got a lot of really good football players, really good athletic, physical, strong guys. I think they trust their scheme and they do a really good job of running it.
But USC's defense is up to the test as they put their best showing of 2018 in shutting down a powerful Colorado offense last week with 16 tackles for loss.
And with Utah, Huntley, certainly he'll be tough, but he's not the only guy. This defense needs to work on 2,000-yard rusher Zach Moss, stopping him, as well as one of Huntley's favorite targets. That would be wide receiver Britton Covey. And the USC defense, they'll have to do all this without senior linebacker Porter Gustin. He was 7th in the nation in sacks, but the captain will miss the rest of the season with an ankle injury. Now, Coach Clay Helton, he recognizes what Gustin can do, and he spoke this week about what a special impact a player like Gustin can have.
There's only one Porter. You know, I've been doing it 24 years, and I can count on one hand guys you just remember, you'll always remember. And that guy, he's the definition of what a Trojan is. Whether it's on the field, the way he competes, the way he led our football team by example as well as vocally, the way he brought his younger brothers along and how he took Hunter Echols in, the way he just played for his brothers and his teammates. He's one of those 5 guys I'm always going to say, man, that's a football player.
Since Gustin is out, the Trojans are hoping for the return of linebacker Cam Smith, the team's leader in tackles, who was sidelined last weekend with an injury. Let's toss it to Alexandra for an injury update.
Thanks, Julia and Aaron. As we mentioned earlier, senior outside linebacker Porter Gustin fractured his ankle during the 4th quarter of Saturday's game, which ended his season and his college career. Just yesterday, he had surgery on his right ankle, and he had a plate and a screw put in. His doctors said it went very well, and it should take him about 4 months to recover. Everyone is sad to see Porter end the season, but Coach Helton said he will still be around as Coach Gustin. Also, freshman linebacker EA had a great game against Colorado on Saturday, but he briefly went unconscious after a helmet-to-helmet collision, and he's now going through concussion protocol. This protocol covers everything from testing a player's physical coordination to asking questions like who scored last in the game on Saturday to look for any signs of memory loss. The athletes do this testing when they're healthy so they can establish baseline data for themselves. That way the medical team has something to refer back to if anyone is suspected to have a concussion. EA is feeling well, and he even got to practice a bit yesterday, so it's up to the medical team to decide if he can be cleared to play this weekend. And Cameron Smith is still recovering from his hamstring injury, and it's unclear whether or not he'll be able to play this weekend. But good news is that Brandon Peely is back from an AC sprain, Clayton Bradley is in again after a back injury, and Bernard Shermer is back from a neck injury. That's all for this week's injury update. Now let's toss it to Aiden for a look around the Pac-12.
Thanks, Alexandra. It's been a rough season for the Pac-12, which began the 2018 campaign with 4 ranked teams, 3 of which found themselves in the top 15. Since then, USC and Stanford have dropped out of the top 25. In addition, Washington's loss to Oregon last week means the conference no longer boasts a top 10 program. All the Pac-12's ranked teams come from the North Division, as Washington State jumped to 25th this week, despite a loss to USC earlier this season. The Huskies are still tops in the North Division because they have 1 more conference win than Oregon, but the Ducks are in the driver's seat with the head-to-head tiebreaker. Oregon and Washington State meet this upcoming weekend in Pullman for a matchup that could have a major impact on the end-of-season standings. Meanwhile, Stanford still sits in striking distance for the North Crown. As for the South, The Trojans' win over Colorado puts them at the top of the standings with a 3-1 conference record. The next 2 games against Utah and Arizona State will be huge for USC, as it has the opportunity to earn tiebreakers over all the teams in the division except UCLA, who the Trojans play in November. As we've discussed, Utah is a very tough opponent, having just dominated the Cardinal on the road. The Utes are likely the biggest threat to the Trojans' chances of going to a second straight Pac-12 championship game. It's very possible that this game will decide who goes to Santa Clara to represent the South Division. Julia, back to you.
Thanks, Aiden. The number 3 USC men's water polo team is having a dominant season this fall. Earlier today, I got to catch up with freshman goalie Nic Porter to talk a little bit more about the team. So USC water polo only has 1 loss this season against Stanford. What do you think has been the key to being so successful?
I think there's a number of factors, but I think the main one is having Jovan as our head coach. I've personally never had a coach who's put so much effort into preparing us for a game. He's constantly watching video of other teams, constantly thinking about what we can do to get up over the opposition. So that gives us as players a huge sense of confidence when we go into the game, knowing that we have a great game plan, that game plan can adjust if things aren't going so well. So I think the main key to success is Jovan and his coaching staff, for sure.
And do you think you can win a national championship this year with the team?
It's a massive call. Obviously, that's the goal. I'm not going to jinx anything, but that's what we're working towards every day. And there's a great belief in the team at the moment. We're in great shape, so we've just got to keep improving, keep going through week by week, working on the things we need to work on, and we'll see what happens.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being here, Nick. And
All good.
Be sure to catch Nick and the rest of the water polo team as they take on Long Beach State and Pepperdine this weekend. So along with talking with Nick, we also got to catch up with one of his teammates at practice this week, Marko Vavic.
Hello, Trojans, and welcome to another edition of Ask an Athlete. My name is Dawson Michelle, and joining me today is men's water polo sophomore Marko Vavic. Over the next 60 seconds, I'll be asking him as many questions as I possibly can. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1, and favorite Kardashian?
Courtney,
Favorite out-of-water team-building activity?
paintballing,
If you could swim in any liquid, what would it be?
syrup,
Favorite sports memory?
qualifying for the World Championships last year.
Name of your autobiography?
How to be awesome.
Ninjas or pirates?
Ninjas.
Biggest weakness?
Too great.
Celebrity crush?
Jennifer Aniston.
What motivates you?
My family.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Most embarrassing sports moment?
I skipping a ball over on a penalty in the semifinal against gold medal Olympians.
Favorite superhero?
Superman.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset. No, sunrise. Sunrise.
Winter or summer Olympics?
Summer.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and make sure to come out on Sunday to watch the boys take on Pepperdine here at home.
So Aaron, baseball playoffs are going on right now, but I hear there are actually some USC connections lurking behind the scenes a little bit.
Julia, no former players still left in the playoffs, but all 4 teams actually have a coach who went to USC. That includes pitching coach Brent Strom of the Houston Astros, assistant pitching coach Brian Bannister of the Boston Red Sox, and then over in the NLCS, assistant coach Jason Lane of the Milwaukee Brewers and bullpen coach Mark Pryor of the Los Angeles Dodgers all went to USC. And with pitching and rather bullpenning being so important in this sabermetric era of baseball, so cool that these USC alums are kind of getting the chance to guide these teams through the thick of the postseason.
Hey, Aaron, it's been a great postseason so far, so we'll see how the coaches do.
Really has, Julia. Speaking of that postseason, we got to run. Brewers-Dodgers starting up at 2 o'clock. So for everyone here at Annenberg Media, I'm Aaron Glazer.
And I'm Julia Adams. You could watch us on Facebook and Twitter at Annenberg Media Sports. We'll see you next week.